Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Monday, the 2nd of April 2018. If you are a regular viewer, you might remember that I said I wasn't going to podcast this weekend because it is Easter weekend, it's a bank holiday. But as it turns out, I am much more effective than I thought I would be, and we returned kind of early. So I decided to record a quick podcast episode. If you haven't watched before, thank you so much for giving this podcast a try. I really appreciate each and every one of you who joins in this podcast. I can't believe that there are still new people who are starting to watch this, and I really, really appreciate that. And for those of you who are coming back and have been watching for a couple of months or maybe even a couple of years, you guys know how much I appreciate that. So today I have a slightly different setup because the sun is coming in at a really, really weird angle, but I'm not complaining because at least the sun is shining for once. Also, my hair is still wet because we just came back from a run and I had a shower. And my face is quite red because we also went for a hike today and it was really sunny. I sound like such an active and sporty person right now. I really am not. So yeah, anyways. With that out of the way, I feel so out of it today, you guys. Do I say that every week? Let's have some coffee. It is like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and this is only my second coffee today. So I think I'm doing pretty good. This is amazing. This is a podcast about knitting, in case you didn't realize that. So today I will be talking about finished objects, works in progress, acquisitions and life in general, as well as some administrative stuff. And I want to answer a question about my blanket that someone asked last week. First of all, we have a group on Ravelry called the Happy Knitting Podcast Group, and that's where you can find all the knit-alongs and giveaways and fun yarny threads. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to post them there if you don't want to post them on YouTube. You can also find me on Ravelry as Wipfi, which is WUEPFI. And if you want to be kept up to date with what's going on, the best way to do that is through Instagram. I realize that not everyone has Instagram or wants to be on Instagram, but if you are, you can find me as the Happy Knitting Podcast. And that is the best place to kind of find out what's going on. And that's where I will post if I'm, for example, I can't podcast for a week or whatever. So that's always a good place to join in as well if you want to. So currently in the Ravelry group, we are hosting a knit-along called the Sock Blankathon. And the idea is to knit something out of a sock blank. You don't have to knit socks, you can knit anything you want. You can knit a shawl, which I think one person is knitting a shawl out of 2 different sock blanks and it's looking amazing. You can knit a sweater out of a sock blank, I don't care. The only requirement is that you use at least 50 grams of a sock blank, so you can combine it with another yarn if you want to. You can also double dip, triple dip. I really am not fast. And the knit-along will run until May 15th, so we still have plenty of time, and oh my gosh, I'm enjoying this knit-along so much. It is also justifying me buying all the sock blanks, so not sure if that's a good thing, but yeah. Anyways, prizes and stuff I will most likely talk about next week, but there will be prizes and I will figure something out. Talking about prizes, I finally managed to ship out the prize from our last knit-along as well, so I feel really good, and yeah. All the information generally about knit-alongs and stuff is easiest to find on Ravelry, just in the chatter thread. I will always post what's going on, and if you do have any questions, just ask there. That's probably the easiest way to get an answer. Okay, my voice is going. So before I go into finished objects, just really quickly, what am I wearing today? I am wearing my Branches and Buds sweater by, is this Kirsten Bostic Hook? Something like that. You can find it on my Ravelry project page, and I'm so sorry for the designer. I don't think she would be watching, but if you are, I am so sorry for butchering your name and continually doing that every time I mention the sweater. I knit this out of Holz Super Soft, which was my first time knitting with it, and oh my gosh, I love it so much. You might be able to tell I knit this on a quite loose gauge. I knit this on 3.5 millimeter needles. So this sweater is crazy light and just perfect for just a nice little layer sort of thing. Whereas I'm knitting another sweater out of Holz Garn at the moment, which I'll show you later, and I'm knitting that at a tighter gauge. So that's quite interesting. I think this sweater was written for DK weight, and Holz Super Soft is a fingering to lace weight, but it worked out really, really well. So yeah, let us talk about some finished objects because I have a couple. So, and my project bags are in the way, but we will just deal with that now. So I finished my cowl. This is the monochrome cowl, a pattern by Joji Locatelli, and this is really, really hard to show off on camera because this yarn does not want to be photographed at all. But the cowl it's basically a sampler where you have different kinds of lace and eyelets, and it was just a really, really fun knit, and mine went super quickly. The yarn I used for this was Wollmeise Blend, which is their merino cashmere blend. So it's a really, really luxurious yarn. It was my first time knitting with it. I really enjoyed it. I had a 150 gram skein, I believe, and this cowl is supposed to be much wider and use 2 skeins of yarn. So what I did is I cast on 144 stitches, which is quite a bit less. And besides that, I just followed the pattern, which is very rare these days, so I'm very proud of myself. Yeah, the lighting is really crap now, but you can see there are different lace panels, and this was just super, super fun to knit. And each of the little lace details was very easy as well, so definitely potato chip knitting, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. I still don't know how I feel about cowls in general, because you might or might not know that I never really know how to wear cowls. They always just kind of hang weird off my neck. And I thought that knitting this sort of narrower would help, but I'm still not 100% convinced. But it is crazy soft, so that has been really nice to wear. So yeah, that is my first finished object. Yeah, just keep on going. Next up, I finished a couple of pairs of socks. So first of all, I finished these socks. These are my 11 socks. I knit them out of a 11 themed, which is a Stranger Things themed sock set by Helen of Giddy Yarns. So the set came with the 11 colorway, which is this blue and very, very light pink one, and then a matching pink mini skein. I love Helen's yarns. I've talked about them a couple of times, and she has actually donated some for prizes in the past as well. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed these socks. This was her merino nylon base, and I really wanted to make the most out of the sock set. I think this was my first or second time knitting out of a sock set where you only have 50 grams of the main color. And look, you guys, this is how much I have left of each of the tiny main colors. So I used pretty much every last scrap of yarn, and I got, for that, I think I got a pretty good sized pair of socks out. So I'm really, really happy with these and can't wait to add these to my sock drawer. And the second pair of socks, I'm just throwing everything everywhere in case you haven't noticed, that I finished. I actually kitchenered these this morning. These are my Knit Picks Felici socks in the Cheshire Grin colorway. And have a look at these. Can you see a difference between the right and the left one? Notice how they are perfectly matched up. They're actually so matched up that when I made a mistake on the first one and had a blue stripe here, I actually mirrored the mistake on the left one. And you can see at some point they just stopped matching. So this first skein, first of all, you can really notice that it became very blotchy and kind of ran out of color. And then where the dark stripe was supposed to go, there was just this really weird one. And then there was a knot, and then the colors were all wrong. And this was the same dye lot. So I have to say, I'm not super impressed with these. I personally don't care because, yeah, I just don't care. But that was a little bit disappointing on Knit Picks side. So yeah, but these are done. I'm really happy with these, and nevertheless, I think it's a really fun sort of self-striping yet affordable sock yarn. So I'm not complaining too much. I just thought that was quite extraordinary because I've had some experience with nitpicks, but I have never had this happen. Anyways, these are done. All the socks that I just showed you were knit on 64 stitches on a 2.25mm US size 1 needle. I'm really enjoying the throwing thing today. Isn't there another podcaster who's famous for doing that? Maybe I'm just imagining things. So that is it for my finished objects. And before I go into works in progress, just really quickly, I wanted to show you my blanket, because last week I showed both of my blankets and someone asked about whether they could see the back of my Cozy Memories blanket, because they said that for them the back of the blanket never looks very neat and they were really interested in mine. So I just thought I'd pull my back out. So this is my Coziest Memories blanket based on a pattern by Camper Ray. I'm doing 56 stitches on a 2.0 US size 0 needle. This is what it looks like on the front, and if you want to see the back, it looks pretty similar. So you can see there are the ridges where I picked up all the stitches, but besides that, I don't think it is too noticeable. I'm not sure how everyone else's blankets are looking, but this is what mine looks like. In terms of weaving in ends, what I do is I just knit the ends into the blanket as I'm knitting the squares, and then I knit the ends to the back, and then I just clip them every now and then. So this is what the back of my blanket looks like. I hope that helped. If you have a more specific question, or maybe you feel like you're doing something wrong, feel free to just maybe post that in the Ravelry thread. And maybe send some photos, and maybe me and some other knitters might be able to help you out with that. So, sorry, I'm looking past the camera because that's where my screen is. And with a different light, I'm finding it a little bit difficult to focus, because I don't want to be recording something and then just throw it in the bin later. So let us talk about some works in progress. First of all, one that I'm super proud of, but I was actually really wanting to have it finished, living in my flamingo bag by Hazel, or Hazel's mom, I think, made this, is my Damiaka Lopa sweater. You guys, I've talked about this sweater so much, but I actually haven't shown it to you in ages. So this is the Damiaka Lopa sweater, or also called the Flea sweater, by Pineguri, who I believe is a Finnish designer. And I've been knitting on this forever. It is a Colourwork cardigan, or it's supposed to be a cardigan, but I modified quite a bit, and I turned the cardigan into a sweater. I also omitted the fleas because they're supposed to be tiny flea patterns along the sleeves and body, which I'm not doing. And I also am doing really interesting things in terms of shaping and sizing, but it should work out. But look, there's my sweater. And can you see? First of all, the body is finished, and it's all crinkled up from the back. I have finished one sleeve, full-length sleeve, and I was totally going to finish the second sleeve on a holiday. And then I took this much yarn. I didn't pack any extra yarn. So I used the yarn that I had to start the second sleeve, and then I ran out, which was quite sad because I really wanted to finish this. But I just need to sit down for a day and finish the freaking sleeve, and then I'll be done with this thing. Sorry about the swearing. I love this sweater, but I've just been working on it for so long, and I just want it to be done. It will be done just as it gets too warm to wear it. But yeah, this is, like I said, the Damiaka Lopa, the sweater version, so to speak. I am using Holzgarn Super Soft, which I mentioned before. It's the same that I'm using in here. I can't remember all of the colors, but they are all listed on my project page. And for this one, I'm using 3.0 or 3.25. I'm using 3mm needles. So it is a much tighter gauge than what I'm using, or what I had used for this one. But I think, considering this is a sweater with a little bit more substance and longer sleeves and a longer body, this one is quite cropped. I think this will work out really well. And I just really wanted to see the difference in gauge and what gauge I like better, because I have quite a lot of this yarn in my stash. So I want to knit all the sweaters and just experiment a little bit. So that is my sweater, and I am very proud of it, in case you haven't noticed. So I'm back. I changed the lighting slightly. Not sure if now it's better, but it's worth a try. Yeah, so that was my sweater. Next up, let's just talk about another sweater that I really wasn't planning on casting on, but that just happened. So in terms of sweaters, you may have realized that I am somewhat obsessed with Colourwork sweaters at the moment. I'm really into the garments, which is so weird because I spent such a long time barely knitting any garments at all. But yeah, I was really planning my next sweater. My next sweater that I wanted to knit was the Blåfjeld sweater by Ellie of Scandia, and sorry for butchering that name as well. It's her first fingering weight or her first garment design. It's a beautiful Colourwork sweater, and that was going to be my next one. But then I went yarn shopping and I found yarn and I bought it for a specific project, and then I really wanted to cast it on. So let me talk about the yarn first. The yarn, it's also part of my acquisitions, clearly. This is the yarn that I picked up on our trip at a local yarn store in Kempten. And this is Austrian 100% wool. It is not superwash. It's listed as a sport weight, but I would say it's more like a sport to DK. And can you see it? It's super rustic and beautiful and sheepy, and this is the label. I tried to find this on the internet, but couldn't really find out more about it because I really like it so much. I kind of want to get some more. But anyways, this is the yarn that I picked up, and I picked it up specifically to knit another sweater by Jennifer Steingas, who is a really popular Colourwork sweater designer at the moment, and rightfully so. I basically love every single one of her patterns. I think I have about 4 or 5 in my library. Talking about which, she has a coupon code for, I think when you buy 3 patterns, you get 1 for free. So check out her Ravelry for that. I think it's listed underneath her patterns. So the one that I wanted to knit after having just knit her Traystar sweater is the Fern and Feather sweater. And funnily enough, her sample is actually in very similar colors than the ones that I picked up. So I picked this dark green and this sort of natural beige. And I really wanted to cast on, but I didn't have the right needles with me, or I didn't have empty needles with me. But then eventually I decided to steal those needles from another project and cast on. So this is another top-down yoke sweater, and look at that. This is where I am at the moment. I'm just knitting the Colourwork. I think I'm about at least 3/4, if not 80% done with the yoke. And this is what it's looking like. And you guys, I am so obsessed. I knit all of this last night. I cast on just before we went out for dinner, and when we came back, we watched a James Bond movie. We watched Spectre with Daniel Craig for the second time, and I knit the yoke. So this just flew off my needles. I am so in love with this project, and I'm really enjoying the yarn as well. So this is what my Colourwork looks like. If you want to see my floats, this is what my floats look like. And you're supposed to knit this on a 4mm needle with a worsted weight yarn. But I actually even swatched with a 3.5 because I knew my gauge was going to be more like that. So this is 3.5mm needles on a DK to sport weight yarn. And I did a swatch and I washed it, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell, but it's really beautiful. I think it is quite soft. Kai thinks it is scratchy. It just depends. It is proper, sheepy, rustic wool for sure. But I find this much softer than, for example, the Let Lopi. And I really like the fabric that I got with my 3.5mm needles as well. So yeah, very obsessed with this. I can't wait to finish this podcast and knit some more on this. I also really like Jennifer's patterns. They're very intuitive. They're not, I would say they're beginner friendly, but maybe not the most beginner friendly. This one is, if you don't mind catching your floats, this one is definitely beginner friendly. The Tracer sweater, which I knit before, had 3 colors in one colorway row, so that's maybe something to watch out for. But generally, I love her pattern so much. I already have 2 more that I want to knit. So yeah, that is my new obsession sweater using Austrian yarn. Oops, now I dropped it. And I think that's all I have to say about that. I think I'm knitting the 3rd size up or something, but I will probably do my own sort of increases, decreases anyway, so it won't matter too much. And I'm just covered in perlic bags because my setup is different and it's driving me nuts. So yeah, those are my 2 sweater projects. I can't remember the last time I had 2 sweaters on my needles. Next up, I have one lonely little sock project. Again, crazy, right? And in here are, of course, my sock blank socks for the sock blankathon. And I have finished the first sock. This is what it's looking like. It has a heel as well. And I have now started the second sock and need to put a heel in. So it's really funny. You would think that this is a really bright sock, but then when you hold this one right next to it, the first one becomes almost kind of muted. It's a really, really crazy kind of way, and I'm really enjoying it. The yarn that I'm using is Amy's yarn of Stranded Dye Works in the Pinata colorway. And I feel really bad showing you this because she just announced that she won't be dyeing any more sock blanks in the future. So it's kind of mean, but at the same time, I'm glad I got this one. This is my second sock blank of hers that I have knitted, and my last one. But oh well, I'm really still enjoying these. I'm just taking my time, and also I'm kind of avoiding knitting the heel. But I should just sit down and do that. I probably do that tomorrow because I will be going on another work trip, and then this will be great to train knitting. So yeah, that is my sock project. And then the last project that I have to show you is the Impressionist Mystery Knit Along by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. So I will show the finished or the first clue. If you don't want to be spoiled, please look away. I'll just skip 5 minutes ahead because I will be showing the design, but only after I have some coffee. So, if you haven't heard about this knit along, it is a mystery knit along, which means that you will get, I think, 4 clues. So you don't really know what the pattern is going to look like until you knit it. It takes 3 skeins of yarn, and you're supposed to use sort of like a light, a medium, and a dark one. Don't worry, I'm not showing the project yet. I will show the yarn first if I untangle this. Everything is tangled. There we go. And I chose 3 different yarns from 3 countries and 3 dyes, which just happened to work out that way, but I really like that. So my lightest color is this one. This is from a German dyer called Zauberwiese. This is their logo. And this is a 75% merino, 25% silk yarn. I think this is a one-of-a-kind colorway. I had it in my stash for a while. But yeah, I really like it. Then the second yarn that I'm using is a French yarn. This is a yarn that I bought in Avignon. And it is by a French dyer called, I think it's spelled Tot le Matin. And the colorway is Enchanté. And she has an Etsy store, so I need to get some more of her yarn. Let's see if I can show you the label as well. And this is a merino blend, or it's not a blend if it's just one kind of yarn, is it? And then my third color, it is a German yarn, but I bought it in Austria. I bought it in Vienna. And this is Das Mondschaf. And in her Andromeda base, I'm not sure how to pronounce that correctly, which is her sparkle base. And I've never used her sparkle base before. And the colorway is Greyjoy. So my 3 yarns together, I just really like these. And all 3 of these were ones that I didn't want to knit into socks. So really, really happy to be using them. So yeah, let me show you the design. So now if you want to look away, now would be the time. So the first clue came out and it was quite a bit of knitting, but I really wanted to get through it quick. And that kind of made me mess something up because I wanted to get through it quick so I could start my sweater. And I was knitting and knitting and knitting really, really fast, and then I messed up the stitch count. And first I fudged it and thought, oh well, it won't really matter, but then I grew really wary of it because I really don't know what the second clue is going to be like. So you don't know if you can just increase a couple of stitches and it will be fine, or maybe what you've done so far will lead into a lace panel. So I was a little bit worried, and in the end I ripped back. So I had finished the first clue, but I ripped back, and this is where I am now. And I had to I just put it on some sock needles to kind of store it, but this is what it looks like. So it's a crescent-shaped shawl. You can see it here, or maybe I should hold it the other way around. This is the general idea. So you start with the lightest color and then sort of do like a strappy, fadey thing into the second color, and then you do start with the third color, which I did do, but then, like I said, ripped out. So, but this is where I am so far. It was a really relaxing knit until here because there was a lot of garter stitch, and yeah, I'm not a huge fan of these wide garter crescent-shaped shawls, so I'm not 100% sure. But I'm just doing this for the fun of it, and I really like the colors, and all of Helen's designs are so beautiful, so I'm not really too worried. So now that I'm back home, I just need to pick up another proper needle and just re-knit the last 3 or 4 rows or whatever I'm missing. You're supposed to knit the shawl on a 4mm US size 8 needle, but I like my shawls on a 3.5, which is a US size, hang on, maybe 4mm is US size 6 and 3.5mm is US size 4, right? Anyway, it's 3.5mm because I like it better, and also that way I know I won't have to play yarn chicken, which is always something I'm worried about because I have quite a loose gauge. So yeah, that is my mystery knit along, and I will now put it away, so if you've been looking away you can see, look again now. So that is it for this week's knitting. I did quite a bit of knitting because, like I said, we were going away, and part of why I was so excited to go away is because I just wanted to knit and knit and knit and knit, and I definitely did, and it was so much fun, you guys. I love knitting. Yeah, in case you didn't know that. It's so weird. I'm doing that thing again where I'm all out of breath for no reason at all. Alright. So I do have a couple of acquisitions to show you as well. First of all, I've already shown you the sweater quantity of this Austrian yarn that I'm using for my fern and feather sweater. So I got 5 balls of this. I got 4 of the dark green and 1 of the lighter beige. And I'm very tempted to call up the local yarn store and ask if they can send me some more because I like it so much. But maybe that's crazy, especially since I'm going to a yarn festival in 2 weeks. So I'll see what I'll pick up there, and then maybe, or maybe I just need an excuse to go down there again and visit the yarn store in person. So this is the first thing I picked up. I also, when I was there, I fell in love with one skein of sock yarn, which was this one. It's just a very, very simple mustard yellow. It's Lana Grosser Meilenweit in the colorway 1351. And I just really like this color. So, and I knew I didn't want to knit socks out of it, but it's a really I really like this yarn. It's a really soft, yet still sort of natural sock yarn. Like, I don't like my sock yarns when they feel super sort of like plasticky, and this one definitely doesn't. So I decided to knit a sweater together with this colorway, which is colorway 1103. And this is sort of like a heathered gray. So I just really like the colors. I got 3 of this color and 1 of this, and I will knit some kind of Colourwork sweater out of it. I love fingering weight sweaters, and I just keep buying yarn for sweaters at the moment. But the good thing is, now that I'm so in love with Colourwork, I feel like first of all I have so many more possibilities, and secondly yarn is much cheaper because you can just knit with, you know, like simple yarn. Like all of this stuff is relatively reasonably priced. You don't need to buy indie dyed yarn, which, gosh, you know how much I love indie dyed yarn, but sometimes for sweaters it can be quite expensive. And the advantage of knitting it with this is that I can throw my sweater in the washing machine. I've knit my first Colourwork sweater, the Sunset Highway sweater, out of the same yarn but in the tweed. And I feel like this is a lot softer. Not sure if it's just me or maybe the dye lots or whatever, but yeah, I really like this. Also, it was really cute. First I picked up another grey, but they only had 2 balls of that. And then I went with this, but they also only had 2 balls and there were different dye lots. And the owner, or I assume it is the owner of the store, it was a guy. I really like him. I've met him before. He's one of the very few men that knows about knitting that I've met. And he was like, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll just drive down and get you 3 of the same dye lot. And he actually organized for his daughter to drive over and get me the yarn so I could knit my sweater, and it was just so cute. And then the last thing that I picked up and actually got for free in the end, which was again super, super nice, is a single 50-gram ball of lead lopi. This is Callaway number 9420. It's a dark navy. And the reason why I picked this up is, you might remember I knit my Tracer sweater out of lead lopi out of 3 colors, a light gray, a medium gray, and a sort of burgundy red. Oh my gosh. Breathe, Julia, breathe. And I had quite a bit of yarn left over, so I really want to knit a second sweater, but I just didn't want to knit a second sweater out of the same color family altogether. So I knew that last time they still had some of this in sale, so I just picked up 1 ball of navy, and that way I'll just have an extra color and it won't feel like I'm knitting the same sweater all over again. So yeah. So one dyer that does very irregular shop updates, but I apparently never can stay away, is Ellie. I think she's called Ellie of Laughing Yaffle. She's a UK-based indie dyer, and I don't know, everything she does I just love. So every time she does do an update, which is every couple of months, I just jump on it. So remember the knit along that we have at the moment, the sock blankathon. You can guess what I got. I got a sock blank called Ice Flowers. And this is a sock blank out of her 75% merino, 25% nylon. I knit with 1 sock blank of hers before, and it was one of the softest socks that I've ever knit, and this is the same base. So I'm really excited, and you guys, look at that. How could I say no to that? I really love what he's done there. It's sort of like this, it reminds me of like a coral reef in the sea, like this blue speckly background and then the flowers stamped all over it. I just think this is absolutely gorgeous. Kind of too gorgeous to knit up, but I will knit it up eventually. But yeah, I just really, really love this, and I think this will be a really fun one to knit up as well. I'm really drawn towards colors that I don't usually like at the moment. Like, first of all, I'm drawn to like grello and green, and all these colors are usually not my thing. And then my second obsession apparently is sort of like these turquoise colors. Again, not really my thing, but at the moment I'm really loving them. So yeah, really love this, and that is it for my acquisitions, and that's quite a bit, especially since I know that there is something else coming tomorrow. Talking about acquisitions, have you guys heard of Socks Here by Coop Knits? I don't know through who I found out, but I did find out that Coop Knits and Socks Here, they launched a neon series of their sock yarn at EYF, and oh my gosh, you guys, I was so obsessed. And I wanted to get some, and then I found out that Coop Knits who's Rachel Coopy, she is doing a neons and neutrals, or neutrals and neons sock club. And the idea is that I think for like 5 months or something, you will get 3 colors a month, 350 grams skeins, and one will be a neon, and the rest will be different neutral colors, and you will get some patterns and stuff as well. Oh my gosh, you guys, I was so tempted, and then I realized, do you guys do that? When you have a birthday coming up, and then you just kind of tell everyone exactly what you just make everyone get what you want. So anyways, I kind of made Kai get that for me for my birthday and presented it to him like, oh, it's a present to you as well, because now you don't have to worry about what you're going to give me for my birthday either. So anyways, maybe a little bit tricky on my part, but I am so excited about this. So if any of you are joining in, I would be really interested. Maybe we could knit along together. I think that would be really fun. Also, I'm talking really weird. So, you guys, that is it for my yarny content for this show. All I will do now is waffle on about life in general. So if you're not interested in that, then thank you so much for watching. And if you do want to stick around, welcome to Crazy Town. Today I'm scaring myself. Let's just blame it on too much sports, because I'm not a sporty person and I'm apparently trying to be, and yeah. The reason behind all this craziness, besides that being healthy would be a good thing, is that my firm, they're doing lots of like firm runs in the summer, and I want to join in at least one, if not two. So the Munich one, the B2 run, it's called, is in July, and I will need to run 6-point-something kilometers. So I need to train. And it was also a really good excuse to get back into working out, which is very much necessary, and it's actually fun. So I don't know why I don't do it more often. But yeah, I see myself like when I go running with running shoes and looking like a sporty person, and I can't believe that's me. So yeah, and then I will complain for weeks and weeks about being sore. Trust me, I'm always the one to complain. Anyways, I hope you guys had a lovely Easter. I hope you had a good weekend. Did you get lots of knitting time? I certainly did. We obviously had a short week because we had both the Friday and the Monday off. So Kai was off work on Thursday as well, but I unfortunately had to work. But on Thursday night we drove down to Allgäu, which is an area near the Alps in Germany. It's about 1.5 hours drive from where we are. And we go there quite a lot because we are so lucky that Kai's parents have a tiny little apartment there that they don't use, so we can just hang out there. And it's really nice for little holidays. So we drove down and we were kind of medium lucky with the weather. The first day was quite nice, but not super nice. And then Saturday and Sunday it was raining and snowing all over the place. Like, it's crazy. Today it was beautiful. We went for a hike, we went running, it was like 15 degrees. I feel like I got a bit of sunburn. Yesterday it was snowing, and then the sun was shining, and then it was raining, and then it was snowing again, and so on it went the entire day. With actual snow on the ground, I think it was like 1 degree Celsius, and we actually went for a drive a little bit further, and we had lots of snow. And I wanted to drive to this one spot where you can just overlook the Alps. And we did go, but we were just getting blown away. It was so freezing and wintry and not very Easter feeling at all. On the contrary, today it was beautiful. Like I said, we walked up a hill, or I would say a mountain is a little bit far-fetched, but I don't know, whatever. We went for a hike. And it was really nice. There was a little place to sit at the top, and I took some photos, which maybe I will include in this video if I remember. And on Saturday we just went into Kempten, which is a nearby city, which I really like to go to. First of all, to buy yarn, but it's just a really nice little city to go shopping as well. And besides that, we ate so much food, you guys. Oh my gosh. It was so good. I really love the typical sort of southern German food. Like, I could just live off that. It is very heavy food, but oh my gosh, I love it so much. So yeah, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. We also had quite a bit of Easter chocolate. I'm making myself hungry. Also, this was the worst recap, the least chronological recap I've ever done of anything, but oh well. So I am really sad that tomorrow it is back to work again. I'm also going to be traveling this week for work, so it's going to be quite exhausting, and I love my work, but once you get into the sort of joy of just relaxing and sleeping in and having lots of knitting time, it's really hard to go back to work, apparently. But I think it should be good, and I do feel quite relaxed, which was very much necessary since I haven't had a single day off since I started this job. And now it's just a couple of weeks until we have a couple of days off again, and I'm taking a holiday, a very short holiday for my birthday, which is coming up in May. So yeah, things are looking up. So with that, I think I'm all babbled out and have nothing more to say, which is a lie. I could probably sit here and talk to the phone for another 2 hours, but nobody wants that. So you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this wasn't too discombobulated. I feel like I was a little all over the place, but that tends to happen when I record sort of in between getting back from a holiday. We still have everything left to unpack. And now that I've podcasted, there's yarn all everywhere as well. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you have subscribed, I would love to see you over in the Ravelry group. I always love hearing from you in the comments and on Instagram. So with that, I hope you have a very knitty week as well. Take care, and I will see you next week. Happy knitting. Bye.